What's up, Tim Sykes, millionaire mentor and trader here. Have a nice special treat today. I actually did this interview just a few days ago with one of my upcoming challenge students. He's over $200,000 in profits yet, not quite a millionaire, but he's learned. And it's not just about how much money you make right away. Like, he's been learning and he's figured out patterns that work for his personality, his own strengths and weaknesses. So everyone's so obsessed, like, oh, how do I make $1 million the quickest? That's the wrong question to ask yourself. The right question is, how do you learn so much so that whoever you are, no matter what your strengths and weaknesses are, you find a way that makes the market work for you? Whether it's making an extra 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, or $1 million. Maybe, guess what? I have part-time students too, even making an extra $1,000 per week. You don't have to just become a millionaire. It's not like if you're not a millionaire, you're a failure. But learn from this interview. I think it's pretty cool to see how much he has studied and how long it took him to, find his niche. You can click the link below to apply for my challenge. This is where all my millionaire students are being created. They have access to all the DVDs, video lessons, webinars, archive webinars. You might be tired of my voice. Listen to some of my top students. Tim Grattani has given over 70 webinars for challenge students. It's a beautiful community. It's got its own chat room, the best chat room I know. But take a look at this interview with my student Reverse Long. That's his username, and I'm pretty proud. Get ready to take some notes.
All right, what's up, guys? This is David, aka Reverse Long, with the Friendly Bear Podcast, and today I got the legendary Tim Sykes on. Tim Sykes, what's up? So Tim Sykes is he's been my mentor since the beginning. So it's 2016. I was in grad school, about to finish, and I knew I didn't want to do what I was doing because the pay was not going to work with the amount of student loans I had in the architecture field. So I was looking to study just someone that had the material that I can study. I didn't care about the flash and the glamour and all that kind of stuff. I just like, okay, let me in the door. So anyway, I did a lot of research on Tim. I found out about his previous millionaire students like Grattani and Good and Crook and Eric Wood, all these guys, I know. But so I dug in there. I was like, you know what? This guy has the foundation. That's all I need. Get me in the door. I'll figure out the rest. So I decided, get the subscription, spend every day studying like I did with architecture in architecture grad school. So I approached it like that. And I quickly realized when I saw new students like Ducks, Stephen Ducks killing it. There was a couple of others, but not as much. Back then, it wasn't as many millionaires as there is now. Now it's just insane. But and I was like, you know what? And I looked at Grattani, and when he was in college, getting successful with trading, I was like, you know what? I have too much stress in my life right now. I need to take a step back. I need to get into myself in a situation like when I'm in college, and I'm not worried too much about life. So I figured out all my situation, cut off a lot of negative people, and just focus to study, put a lot of time. And I spend many hours studying all of Tim's videos. So, a lot of hours. And, a lot of people, they're skeptical about it, but no, it's absolutely, the foundation's there. Tim has a great library, gets you to start. And even now, like, I mostly short sell. I don't, you know what I'm saying? But like, you're self-sufficient. So you do whatever you gravitate towards, but the foundational material is all there for everybody, for all types of niches, all types. You need the foundation. And then maybe you trade OTCs, maybe you trade penny stocks. But Tim has the great foundation. And for Tim, I always wanted to thank you for that. You know what I mean? So if it wasn't for you, I might be working 9 to 5 in the architecture field and barely paying my student loans and all that stuff. So yeah, thanks.
I'm glad you get it. Thank you for studying so much. Right now, as we're doing this interview, I'd like to, this is just our first time talking. I'd like to do future interviews and, track your progress in the future. So right now, filming this October 2021, what are you at right now? How long have you been in the challenge?
All right, so I've been in the challenge since 2016. I'm around approaching $250,000. So yeah.
Is it gotten easier now? Like, everyone wants it to be easy, but you started this, I think, the right way with a foundation. Like, it's like architecture school where, you didn't expect to achieve that much in like month 1 or even year 1. Now here you are, year 4, year 5. Has it gotten easier? Like, you tell me, how's the journey been?
All right, yeah, it has gotten easier. Now it's a lot easier, but 2, 3, 4 years, like 3 years, it was not easy because like you got like I had to deep dig deep within myself to fix my inner struggles. You know what I mean? Like I had a toxic girlfriend at the time. I had to figure that out. I had some family issues. I had a lot of student debt, you know, so I had a lot of debt. So that was weighing me down. So like the studying was, you know, that's something you can control. You can control the amount of time you put in. Though actually, you can't control the amount of hours in a day, but you can control you know, if you want, like Roland studies 18 to, well, he was studying 18 to 20 hours, but he doesn't do that anymore. You know, what's crazy is now it's like, I don't really have to force myself to study. I'm kind of like always around stocks. I have a lot of friends in the stocks. I'm in Puerto Rico most of the year now, and I'm trading in an office over there, like for myself, but like, you know, so I'm surrounded constantly by market, you know, so like it's not, it is easier. It's actually really enjoyable now in a
I'm
way.
glad you brought up, you know, like your you know, internal struggles, the toxic people. I mean, this is like, to me, I mean, it's I had similar issues. I've had toxic people in the past. I've had, you know, greed issues, alcohol issues, like, you know, having too much success in the beginning, too fast, not having risk management. So, you know, discipline issues. And a lot of people think like, oh, it's just studying, like learning patterns and rules, but you got to get your own, you know, stuff together too. And toxic people, it's like a toxic, you know, position. Like I always say, cut losses quickly in stocks. You got to do sometimes that with people too. Like it's, if they're weighing you down, it's like, you know, if you have a position and it's tying up all your capital and you can't even make any trades because you're in this crappy position. I mean, it's similar to toxic relationships, and it just weighs everything else down. So you got to think like, how can you, you know, be positive, get away from the toxicity, and that way you can move forward, because it's next to impossible to move forward if you have too much stuff weighing you down. Like, you know, like you have all these weights on your ankles, if you want a visual representation, and you're trying to swim and these ankle weights are holding you down. Like you can try to swim as hard as you can, but the weights will constantly bring you down. So you need to free yourself of those weights so that it does become easier to, you know, swim in that.
Yeah, you know, so, but it's all, I think you say it too, like it's all front loaded. So you front load this, you learn this skill, and it's like, it lasts forever, you know, to then, you know, the market's been around.
Management until literally I lost $500,000 in like 2006, 2007. So I was like 7, 8 years in. So anybody who gets this 7 or 8 years in, you're ahead of me. And like, people don't think like that. People are like, oh, it's month 3, month 6, not to mention, not all months and years are created equal. Like you said, it was rather slow for you first 1, 2, 3 years, but you prepared. And now fortunately there's a hot market, 2020, 2021, you were prepared to capitalize. If you were just beginning right now in 2021, there's all these plays moving. I don't think it's that easy to start in a crazy bull market, because you're always looking for fast plays and fast money. You're not having the time to develop the rules and discipline that you frankly have.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. So like, all that preparation led to I was ready for the hot market finally, right? So like, yeah, it came along at the right time and I was prepared. So
you don't know when the next hot market is going to be. You can't control it. All you can do is control your preparation. So, you know, people watching this, they ask like, when should I start? Like, start now, start yesterday, so that you can be prepared for what the market gives you. Most people are unprepared for these hot plays whenever they come about. And then you feel crappy, because then you're like, oh, I missed another one. But once you miss enough of them and you start feeling guilty about missing it, that, you know, hopefully will kick your ass into gear into studying, you know?
I wanted to go over, so I read your American Hedge Fund book a few times. It's actually really underrated, man. I'm surprised like you give it to everybody for free. I have the audio version. Like, I don't know if people are actually reading it, but like it's a really good book. It's super awesome.
I could share, you know, the ups and the downs and be as honest as I could, because most people just aren't honest. Like, there's a lot of people who only share their entries. They don't share their exits. They share their wins. They don't share their losses. They, you know, celebrate. They don't show the downside. So you need like a balanced understanding. You know, trading can be frustrating.
Yeah. So, okay. So what do you think is a similarity now between 1999 and now? Because like you first big break, like I got my not a break. I had to prepare to be ready for coronavirus. Just like, and I caught it kind of late. Everybody was getting like Jack and all these guys. They took super advantage of it. But okay, so in 1999, was it similar? Like, what do you think are the most similarities that you see?
Yeah, I mean, similar kinds of, like you have like these cult leaders where everyone follows their picks and they think that's like the way to make money, but you become reliant on somebody else. So the difference between this and 99, like I try to teach, don't follow anybody's alerts, like be aware of what other people are trading, try to figure out their mindset, but it's not about hot picks. You got to find your own process and optimize your own process. Like I like the fact that, you gravitated towards short selling. That works for you. Fantastic. But a lot of people think that it's all about following somebody else. That's never the case. In 99, 2020, 2021, you have these cult leaders who never share their exits. All they do is they pump up stocks and that's it. And like the part of the reason why we created Profitly is I was like, wait a minute, all these people are talking about their entries. They pump up the stocks. Obviously they're profiting somewhat, but you don't know if they ever sell. They just stop talking about them. Yeah. And I'm like, that's not trading. A successful trade is an entry and an exit. So you have the cult leaders, you have the crazy run-ups due to, just too much money in the system, lack of value. It's like a circus environment when a short seller like you or somebody who just teaches like me tries to bring in some logic and some, conservatism. We get smacked down by the hordes of like the circus lovers. They're like, oh, you must be fun at parties. You just call the cops or whatever. But like, listen, you can't lose your discipline and this bubble will not last. I don't know when it's going to pop, but this is a bubble. So you have to recognize that. And I only do recognize it because I have 2 decades of experience. So that's a great question.
Another one. So like a lot of people lost all their money from the gains in 1999. I remember I was reading James Altucher's book. I love James Altucher. He's one of your friends that you bring up in the Tim Challenge and the videos. Now he lost a lot of money, but and just like a lot of people did, and they made a lot of money at first and they lost it. So how did you manage to like not lose it? Did you found out about short selling a little late and then it just was perfect timing, or how did that?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's perfect in the market, right? But in early 2020, I was a freshman in college. I made like 700,000 plus like the first 4 months. I'm like extrapolating the gains. I'm like, if I make 700,000 every 4 months for the rest of my life, like, and it's just ridiculous. Like that was during a bubble. The last 8 months of the year, there were no more penny stock breakouts. I lost 10,000. So to go from making 700,000 in 4 months to losing 10,000, I'm like, was I lucky? Like what happened? Little did we know, I was just piggybacking boiler rooms back then. That's the pattern. I didn't know at the time. No one knew. I was just buying stocks for the gap up every day, and the boiler rooms would market overnight. So people would put in their buy orders at the open. So I was just inadvertently following something that then got busted and there were no more plays. So it forced me to adapt, and that'll happen this time. Like I said, I don't think it's necessarily boiler rooms. I think that a lot of the money is just in stimulus check funded accounts at Robinhood and all these brokers. And you have all these people, playing basically with like government money. And now it's like funny money because a lot of them invested in crypto, Dogecoin. Like even if you put your money into Dogecoin, like your stimulus checks $2,000 or $3,000. If you put it into Dogecoin, it's worth 6 figures. At the high, it was worth 7 figures. So there's so much funny money, so much madness going on. You have to understand it's going to end. I don't know when, but this is why I'm warning. And for me, it's about education and keeping people responsible. By all means, ride these pumps up, enjoy the circus while it lasts. Just be ready because it's not going to last forever.
Yeah, speaking about that, okay, so you came up with the 7-step framework, and it's crazy how like it's I see those patterns like with Dogecoin or with all these pump and dumps. It's insane. How did you come up with that? And by the way, I want to say before I forget. So when I was reading like the turtle trader and stuff, I think in like 50 years from now, you're going to be thought of like the turtle trader kind of guy. He traded all these little turtle millionaires off these patterns.
That's very kind of you to say. I just try to take what I've learned over the years and like spit it back out. Like I wish there was like a matrix type technology where you could just plug me in and I could like take a plug and then like plug it into you. And then it's like, oh my God, I see everything. I know Taekwondo. For me, I see these patterns. It's not an exact science, but I do see the similar stages. So I just tried to get it out. Like it is crazy. The 7-step framework works. The Sykes sliding scale. I mean, I was just trying to put like the indicators together because too many people only look at like the chart or they only look at the news. And I'm like, no, there's other indicators involved here. So I'm trying to, basically take what's in here and put it out there for people and hopefully it can help.
Now, with the 7-step framework, like I see, like I like to short the number 5 a lot. You know, that bounce. Now, how did you come up with that though? Is it like a psychological thing? Because these bounces happen for different reasons, but they tend to happen a lot. You know?
I mean, you get those crashes, the number 4 crash, you get the number 5 dip buy, you get the number 6 short sell. I mean, it seems to work over and over again. And my guess, like, understand, I'm guessing a lot about this stuff. Like, I talk about promoters a lot, and people are like, do you know all these? Like, I don't know any promoters. I'm just guessing the way that they, pump these things. And like, there's, at the peak of any pump, no different than Dogecoin, where Elon Musk goes on Saturday Night Live. Like, that is the classic sell the top catalyst. With all these pumps, with all this mania, there's usually like a max euphoria type situation. No different than we had with crypto and the ETF, where all the crypto is like, we won, and then the very next day everything's down 5, 10, 15%. So you start to look at this crowd psychology. You start to look at like what pumper tactics are. And again, you don't know when the promoters or those people who are paying the promoters are selling, because they never alert their exits. But you have to understand, like, when everything just seems too good to be true, that's usually the time to sell. And, even my biggest wins, when I've sold like these giant supernovas near the top, I haven't nailed the top, I don't think, ever on any of the biggest runners. I usually sell way too soon, whether, it was like TSNP, which is now HMBL, ALPP, OZSC, ENZC, OPTI, AITX, all these runners from early 2021. I missed the top by like 50, 60%, but I still made 20, 30, 40%. And this is very similar to back in 99 and 2000, where I was riding these runners, but I always sold too soon. So for me, the $7 million that I show is nowhere near best case scenario. I know it sounds crazy, but a conservative way of trading these volatile stocks.
Gotcha. So I found out about your stuff is back in the day, you used to put a lot of marketing stuff out for like pump and dumps. And I remember like I saw Grattani's videos and I was like, oh, this makes sense to me. And that's what gravitated me towards finding out more. Now, you were short selling back then. So do you think now, and the reason why I bring that up now is because, do you think you started this whole overcrowding of short sellers? Like now now there's more brokers. You brought all this demand for short sellers. It kind of like the word got out, because I remember when I started I called my broker. This is like 2016, because I saw some videos of yours, and I asked them, hey, can I short stocks under $5? And they're like, no, it's illegal.
I mean, Grattani and I definitely made this mainstream, where Grattani's success, I mean, he turned 1,500 into $1 million in 3 years, and now he's over 13 million. Got a lot of people realizing, wait a minute, you can. I have the same reaction. This is part of the reason why I got into teaching. Brokers who just frankly suck and they can't find borrows, they just say, no, it's illegal. And so they don't want to look bad. They're just blaming the law, when in fact, they're lazy, they're incompetent.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot more brokers because there's a lot more demand. Part of the reason why I don't short sell anymore is just because I'm not optimized for trading profits. I'm optimized for teaching. So when I go after the promoters, they're like, oh, you're just short selling, you want our stock down. And it helps me to say, no, I'm not short selling your pump. I'm just educating. I'm teaching how this pattern works. I probably could make more shorting, but even when I did shorting, frankly, it takes a special skill set. It takes experience. Like the way that you've made money, a big part of it, why it's taking you longer, is because shorting is more intricate. Like it's more complex. So for me as a teacher, it's easier for me to teach dip buying panics, buying breakouts. Like that's what a lot of my new millionaire students have made money on. They make money on shorting. And I think that you're fortunate where you have gotten over the hump. You've gotten over that initial complexity. So now you're profiting, and you can see these manias a mile away, and you just have to find shares to short. There's still some trickery. The short squeezes have gotten crazier. But I think that shorting is worthwhile if you have the experience first. I don't think it's good for newbies right away. They can't try to guess how high the short squeeze is going to go. They can't really. They don't have the proper perspective with, how much is it going to cost them? How much patience should they have? When should they cut losses? When should they double up? It's a little more complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. In Puerto Rico, I've seen some people come in the office temporarily, and they made a lot of money during this mania, longing. And they asked me also, why do you short sell? And I was like, you know what? if I were to start like the previous year and a half, 2 years, I probably would have longed a lot more. But I just saw when I started, I saw Gritani and Ducks, and I was like, I got to get on their level. So I spent so much time learning shorting, 20 hours a day shorting, everything, and also longing. I was learning everything, but most of my practice, and I had like a lot of trades under my belt that were shorting. So that's why, and also I kind of gravitated towards like the dark side a little bit. This is my personality, but I just spent so much time.
It's more logical. It's based on how you got started. It's whatever you can, think about, whatever, kind of structure you can put in place for your trading. If it makes sense for you, go for it. For me, as a teacher for newbies, buying a giant panic, buying a breakout, it's very easy for me to visually teach people that so they can gravitate towards that. I encourage, learning longing and shorting. I mean, my first 2,000 video lessons are like all short selling. So you have to figure out what works for you. Over time, I mean, you're basically going to be doing everything. Like, you're only a few years in, 10 years in, 15 years, 20 years in, you go back and forth, you start to try different stuff. It doesn't really matter in the long run, but in the beginning, like, you are going to be biased a certain way.
Yeah. I was going to say, oh yeah, speaking about the OTC dip buys, that's like primarily what you do. You do have a lot of other strategies because, you've been trading for so long. But now in 1999, in another mania, because basically in this mania, I think you were just dip buying mostly. I'm not sure. But in 1999, did you dip buy at all, or like what was your main strategy?
So 99, I didn't know about short selling at all. I didn't know about really dip buying panics because I didn't know about the promoters. Now, for me, I dip buy promotions because I know the promoters are going to support it because they don't want to be investigated. And if a stock crashes 50, 60, 70, 80% in the morning, people start complaining to the authorities. The promoters don't want that. So even if the promoters are done with their promotion, they have to buy because they're trying to support it. They're trying to create like this fake gradual decline after they've created a whole fake incline. So for me, knowing about how the promotions work makes me want to dip buy panics. Back then, 99, I was simply buying any penny stock that broke out, that closed high, and magically, without any knowledge of the boiler rooms or promoters, I was just focused on the pattern. I was like, why do I buy these OTC breakouts? And every time they gap up and spike 10, 20%, I was like, it's like punking didn't even exist. There was no show like Punked by Ashton Kutcher. But I was like, is somebody recording this? Every single time. I didn't know that these people, these innocent people, were being called at dinner time, pitched by like Wolf of Wall Street, like wannabe promoters, and they would put in their buy orders at the open. That created the gap ups every time. That was my one pattern that I repeated literally hundreds of times.
And it's crazy. And then it's like it's evolved. Okay, so you started to notice like the Canadian exchange is doing some kind of pumping. You started to have like other promoters like Shaquille O'Neal and Justin Bieber getting involved. So it was like this whole sector of pump and dumps. And it's crazy how it's evolved now. It's like mostly Twitter. Like you have this guy Zach Morris on Twitter has 500,000.
No names.
Oh no name. Okay.
Not that it's even a real name. It's just a Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, actually, I used to watch Saved by the Bell a lot, so maybe I'm just talking about Saved by the Bell.
The promoters can use whatever name they want. They can use any screen names. It's on Twitter. It's on StockTwits. It's on Reddit. It's on Discord. Webull has its own chat rooms too. There's everywhere. Okay, so you just have to kind of laugh at the circus, but also respect the power of the mob. I mean, this is like a full-fledged mob. Like some of the world's biggest short sellers got caught on, AMC and GameStop. So if multi-billionaire short sellers can get squeezed, anybody can get squeezed. So I would just be very, very careful shorting anything. It doesn't matter if you're right. It doesn't matter if it's a complete scam. Scams and, manias can outlast logic. So you'll probably be right in the end. Like GameStop and GME's short sellers will eventually, be right, but at what cost? How much stress, how much loss, how much risk, how much interest? Shorting is just tough. So
it is tough. It is tough. It's like playing a game of pickle constantly. I just it's harder for me to long. Like back in January and February, I even funded an E-Trade account to buy the penny stocks, and I can't get myself to do it, Tim. I don't know. Like
Listen,
why?
it's whatever works for you. There, you don't have to feel bad. Like some people are like, oh, you go long or you go short. Do whatever works for you. Whatever, your strength and your priority is and what feels comfortable. Like you said, it's your personality. Fantastic. The market can be made to work for you. I have part-time students where they're not millionaires anytime soon, but they're making an extra 1,000 or 2,000 a week. That's life-changing for them. And they're making 1 or 2 trades. Some people are like, oh, you're not successful. You're not a millionaire. You don't have to be a millionaire to be successful. Okay. I think it's good to aim to be a millionaire because I think that having a big goal increases your daily performance. There's actually some studies on this from Harvard where, did you know this? Like if you have a giant goal where you're like, I want to make $1 million, it forces you to do things that you wouldn't normally do. Like some people are like, oh, I just want to make an extra 1,000. So if you just want to make an extra 1,000, you're more tempted to gamble because that's your goal and you can gamble and sometimes you can hit it, sometimes you can't. But if your goal is to make $1 million, you're not going to do that by random little scalps and little gambling. You're going to put in the time to study because you have that big goal and you're thinking, okay, I need to actually know this stuff to achieve that big goal. So I think having big goals helps, but at the same time, adapt along the way. Like for me, if you had told me years ago that I wouldn't short sell and that I would donate all my trading profits to charity and I would sell all my cars, I'd be like, you're insane. But I've adapted. I've listened to what, I believe in, and I'm happier as a result.
It's crazy. So since I was around since 2016, and actually I took like 1.5 years, 2 years off to kind of get my life together, right? And then come back. Now I've seen you progress so much because you were about like the Ferraris and Lambos back then. Then I come back, I'm like, whoa, what happened to this guy? And then and you mentioned when I 2018, 19, I remember you said, my goal is to have like 1,000 schools. And then like now you have like 100 or so. I don't know.
We're at 90 schools. The pandemic slowed us down for construction. We're doing our first 3D printed school, which should theoretically speed up construction and lowers the cost, and it's more environmentally friendly. So you got to try new stuff. But, for me, one of the scariest days of my life, and I know this is going to sound crazy when I say it. I know how it sounds. I'm from a small town, but when I got my second Lamborghini delivered and I looked at it, and the first Lamborghini, I'm jumping up and down. I'm loving it. This is like one of my childhood dreams. Second Lamborghini gets delivered. And I'm like looking around and I'm like, I feel nothing. Like I have no adrenaline. I'm not excited at all. I don't feel like I've achieved anything. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? And for me, my childhood dreams had been achieved. After the first Lambo, I realized, okay, it's fun, it's good, it's exciting. I like the attention. But then towards the end, I'm like, I don't like the attention. My first Lamborghini got keyed all the time because people hate, rich people.
Yeah.
You had to pay extra for valet. I can't even trust the valet. I almost lost it a few times. I destroyed the leather seats when the convertible wouldn't work. Like, you don't know this stuff before you have your first Lamborghini. But after my first one, I'm just thinking about all this stuff. And I'm just like, same thing with like big places. Like I literally love traveling around. I live like the nomad life. If you had told me that's the life I would have lived earlier on, I wouldn't have believed you. But you adapt and you figure out what works best for you.
Man, well said. Well said. So what are your goals now for the near term and long term with the whole charity and trading everything?
Still 1,000 schools. I'm basically 9% of the way, so we got to keep going with that. I want 1,000 millionaires. Now we're up to like 26, but we've created like 20 millionaires just in the last few months. So it's like insane growth there. We've sped up with millionaire creation. We've slowed down with school construction. That's the way of the world. But I think that I can continue to do both. I've been to over 130 countries now, so I'm going to slow down. I'm like trying to go to new countries. There's just not that many left. And some of the ones that are left, I don't really want to see. So I keep going to my favorites. I'll travel more, I'll teach more, and, just hopefully help people capitalize on this market, on this new technology. The fact that I can even talk to you, like, I don't know if you've looked at what's inside of an iPhone or in like a laptop. Like we're literally all playing with like millions of dollars of new technology that's been developed in the past few decades. So I'm going to keep, utilizing this new technology, seeing where it goes. Hopefully it can lead to, better education, more transparency so that you can see I'm real. Some people are like, you're not real. Like, this is a green screen. You Photoshop your travel. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't even have Photoshop on my computer. Just accept that I'm real. Like, when I lose, I'm going to talk about it. When I have a messed up travel itinerary, sometimes that happens. I'll talk about it too. I think the more real you can be, the more, the better fulfilled you'll be, not having to fake it. There's a lot of like fake it till you make it type people online where they like lease a car for a day, they rent a car for a day, and they're like, look at my Lambo.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to fake it. Okay? Just be real. There's value in being honest and listening to your heart, figuring out what works best for you. So if someone says you should go long more, say, screw you. I'm going to focus on short selling, whatever you like. By the way, still try to go long. I think it's good to try and test.
Yeah, no, I want to, I started longing with my IRA actually.
Fantastic. And you can't even shorten an IRA. I trade off an IRA too. So, for me, I like going long for me as a teacher, but if the, valuations get too crazy, I might come out of retirement and short. Like this isn't an exact science. You got to go on your own journey and just be open to, new ideas and new strategies.
Great. Well, Tim, I'm not going to take any more of your time. I know you're a busy guy. Well, thanks so much for hopping on the podcast, man. And you just been so inspiring for me throughout my whole journey, as well as all the people that you've attracted and created along the process, man. It's been great to have a community. I made a lot of good friends through the challenge now, that are really part of my life and part of my trading and everything to improve in general. So thank you so much for creating that community there, man. It means a lot.
Community. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for doing these podcasts. Let's check in October 2022. We're going to see how you've developed.
Let's do it. Yeah.
You've gone long more. Maybe the market will be over, but every October we're going to do a follow-up. So remember.
I like that, Tim. Awesome. All right. Got a lot to work on then. Well, anyways, thanks a lot, Tim. And I'll see you in the chat room tomorrow.
Cheers, man. And stay safe. Short sellers, beware. The squeezes can go on much more than you think. So
I know. Trust me. I know. I'm working on it. I'm working on the risk management every day. Thanks. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
How cool is that? This is awesome, okay? I love seeing what students do with my teachings and applying them to their own process. That is the key to success, okay? It's not about following hot picks or alerts from anybody. It's learning a process. I know it's not what you want to hear. I know everybody wants fast money. That's not reality. The way that I'm creating all my millionaire students is teaching them a process. Then over the years, that process rinses and repeats, and the money can add up. You're going to have losses. It's going to be tough in the beginning. It gets easier over time once you get more confident in your own setups and in your own preferences. So click the link below. Apply for my challenge only if you're serious. If you want hot picks, if you want overnight riches, get off my page. I never want to talk to you. You're going to waste my time with your BS, and I don't want to, change my positivity with your toxic attitude. You won't influence me. Go influence somebody else. Waste their time. Only if you're serious. Be my student. I love dedicated students. I hate everybody else.